If you ask almost anyone what the 4th of July represents, the response is immediate. You picture summer parades, marching bands, and a sea of red, white, and blue bunting. That deep cultural association traces back to a single piece of paper drafted in 1776, establishing the United States. The sheer cultural gravity of the American founding creates a curious side effect. It acts as a massive historical blind spot, eclipsing the centuries of other events that happen to share this specific anniversary. If we were to temporarily erase the United States from the timeline entirely, what is actually taking place on the 4th of July? Treating this one date as a vertical core sample through recorded history reveals something strange. It is a highly dense focal point for world-altering events that have absolutely nothing to do with America. We start with the earliest and largest recorded event to share the date. In 1054, Chinese and Arab astronomers documented a massive cosmic anomaly. A massive star had detonated so brightly that it was visible during the daytime for nearly a month. Today, modern telescopes pointed at those same coordinates reveal the Crab Nebula, a shimmering cloud of radioactive gas and dust left over from that explosion. In the 19th century, the date anchors crucial cultural milestones. On July 4, 1845, writer Henry David Thoreau moved into a small cabin on Walden Pond, beginning an experiment in simple living that helped define the early environmental movement. Exactly 17 years later, a mathematician passed the time on a boat trip by telling a story to a young girl named Alice Little. He would later publish that story under the pen name Lewis Carroll as Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. In 1939, a devastating medical diagnosis forced baseball player Lou Gehrig to retire. He stood in front of a packed stadium and delivered one of the most famous speeches in sports history, declaring himself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. On this day, the trajectory of science, literature, and sports all shifted in ways that still echo in our modern culture. Long before the 13 colonies existed, this date served as a recurring pivot point for the fate of ancient and medieval empires. In 1187, the Crusades reached a brutal climax at the Battle of Hattin. Sultan Saladin crushed the Crusader army and captured the King of Jerusalem, clearing the way for Muslim forces to retake the city. Move ahead to 1333 in Japan. Following a brutal siege, the ruling Kamakura shogunate collapsed. Rather than surrendering their stronghold, the entire leadership committed mass suicide, ending a regime that had controlled the country for over a century. Even within American history, the date carries immense bloody weight beyond the Revolution. In 1863, Robert E. Lee ordered his Confederate army to retreat from Gettysburg, ending his final invasion of the North. On that exact same day, hundreds of miles away, Confederate forces surrendered the besieged city of Vicksburg to Ulysses S. Grant. That loss gave the Union control of the Mississippi River and split the Confederacy in two. But in 1943, the exact date struck again. July 4th marked the beginning of the Battle of Kursk in the Soviet Union, the largest full-scale clash of armored vehicles in history. Across centuries, the 4th of July has repeatedly coincided with the moments when the map of power was being redrawn by force. This calendar date has also served as a recurring marker for the formal birth and organization of independent nations. In 1894, political power shifted when Sanford B. Dole proclaimed the Republic of Hawaii, seizing control following the overthrow of the Hawaiian monarchy. In 1973, Barbados, Guyana, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago signed a treaty establishing the Caribbean Community, a major step toward regional integration and economic independence. And in 1946, a massive crowd gathered in Manila to watch as officials lowered the American flag. After nearly 4 centuries of colonial rule by various powers, the Philippines attained full, recognized sovereignty. The concept of emancipation on July 4th is a recurring global theme, finalizing independence movements in regions wholly disconnected from the American fight for independence. This timeline maps human history onto the Gregorian calendar, a relatively modern invention. It didn't exist for the 1054 supernova or the 1187 Crusader fall at Hattin. Taking one arbitrary day to slice through thousands of years yields a unique, unbiased cross-section of human experience. The next time you see fireworks illuminating the summer sky, you can look slightly past the celebration of a single country. July 4th is a day that holds a strange cross-section of the entire human story, from the observations of the stars to the violent rise and fall of our own nations.